Now I'm very excited to welcome the editor, a college basketball guru, and highly respected host at the Vegas Sports and Information Network, and Mr. Matt Youmans from vsin.com. You can follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Youmans247. Matt, we have a big couple of days coming up, man. How are you feeling?
Feeling pretty good, all things considered. That 247 stands for how many hours I've been awake this week working. But, this actually is my favorite sports week of the year because I love the first 4 days of March Madness. If you're a college basketball college basketball lifelong fan like I am, there's nothing better than this. And I'm ready to get into it, man. Hopefully we got some winners. I've always enjoyed your podcast, so it's great to be on today.
Oh, thank you so much. Real honor coming from you. And it's so funny. We share a lot of the same friends. You've been around forever. We started in early 2017 before the boom. Here we are talking some college hoops. It's like a dream come true for me because I love college hoops and I love following people that know about college hoops. So it's just great and an honor to have you on this show. But let's get right into a little college hoops with the bracket. I love brackets. I think that's what's drawn me into maybe even sports betting. It was in the late 90s when I filled out a bracket, lucked out with UConn winning it that year. I think it might have been 99 or something like that. But maybe that's what got me into betting because then I started sports betting on the old offshores and sportsbook.com, Bodog, back then. And then I just, kind of stayed into it for all these years. But I want to ask you, do you fill out a bracket? Is that your thing, or are you just more into doing the game-by-game handicaps?
Hell yes, I fill out a bracket. You wouldn't be human if you didn't do it. And there might be guys like there might be Twitter second guessers out there who call that an inefficient waste of time, whatever. That's mind your own business. Let people do whatever they want to do. I see people preaching on Twitter all the time about what you have to do to be a successful sports bettor.
Right.
I would think one of the things you have to do to be a successful sports bettor is not tweet all freaking day about what other people's habits might be. But I think, I grew probably from the age of 1 or 2. My dad had me into basketball and college hoops, and I've been filling out brackets my whole life. Mm-hmm. So, I'm in like 3 different bracket contests, and I've won a handful of these over the years, and you can make money off these bracket contests. So, hell yes, I fill out a bracket. And I worked on mine. My dad actually called me like 2 hours after the selection show. Who do you like? I need to fill out my brackets. I said, man, give me a chance to look at it and think about it tonight. I'll get back to you tomorrow.
It's funny. Yeah. My dad's the same, but I have to manually put it in the contest. It's like he's not going to get on the computer and do it. He's in his upper 70s. And, I'm like, can you get it in tonight? He's like, tomorrow morning. I'm like, okay, great. For about 15 minutes before tip off, I'm going to be filling out my dad's bracket on our bracket giveaway. So we love to do one at the Odds Breakers. We give away $500 to the top placers as just a free promotion from the oddsbreakers.com. So we love it too. But what I have to ask you, who's your Final Four? Who do you got winning?
Right. So I never liked to advance number 1 seeds to the Final Four, but when you break down this bracket, Alabama's got a relatively easy path to the Elite Eight, and Houston's got an easier path to the Elite Eight, maybe to the Final Four if Texas doesn't come out of the bottom half of that bracket. So I hate to say it, but the deeper you get into advancing teams and brackets, the more chalk you get. That's typically the way it goes. Aside from like the first year Butler made the national championship game, I actually had Butler in the Final Four, but it's very rare when you can find long shots like that to get to the Final Four. But I've got Alabama and Houston out of the South and the Midwest, respectively. And then out of the East, I've got Duke. And out of the West, I've got UCLA. And I can tell you that about a month ago, I was certain that I was going to pick UCLA to win all my brackets. And with conviction, I thought UCLA is the best team in college basketball. They had the defense. They got the veteran stars, Jaime Jaquez and Tiger Campbell.
Sure.
They've also got really good supporting players around those guys. Mick Cronin's a coach who can get there. But UCLA plays the type of defense that you need to play to win a national championship. And the more I watched them, I was convinced, okay, that's my team. And then Jalen Clark goes down with the injury on the last Saturday of the regular season against Arizona, and I see him walk out of the locker room on crutches, wearing a boot. And I was like, no, this can't be happening. And he's the Bruins' number 3 scorer and best defender, a 6'5" sophomore wing. And you could probably make a case he's the best defender in college basketball, top 5.
Yeah.
And without him, I don't think UCLA's got enough depth to get there, because Mick Cronin, even with Clark in the rotation, was only playing 6 guys for significant minutes. Now you're going to ask guys off the bench who weren't really playing an important role to step up and play really big minutes in the NCAA tournament. You got to win 6 games. I don't think UCLA's got enough to win 6 games, so that's disappointing. But I've got Duke against Houston in the title game, and Houston winning it all. And I can tell you that not at one point this entire season did I think I was going to pick Houston to win this whole thing. But then the way the brackets were laid out on Sunday, Houston's got the easiest pass. So you play the percentages. And Houston is the type of defensive team, too, that can do it, because there's going to be nights when your offense takes off and you got to win it with defense. You got to win ugly games, and Houston can do that.
Oh, for sure. So I'll embarrass myself here a little bit and say that I don't have any 1 seeds. I do have Duke, though, to the championship game, and I feel very public about that. Right when the seeds came out, I did a show on it, and I was like, they have the easiest path just based on the fact that I think they match up well against Oral Roberts with Filipowski. And if Zach Edey gets in foul trouble, which is what happens in the tournament, what else do they have for Purdue? And so I had to fill out another bracket where I have Purdue going far because nobody else is doing it.
Right.
I think you're a Purdue man yourself, but it's just one of those situations. But while they're zigging, I'm zagging. I got Gonzaga winning it all, because I think if there's any way to get out of that just brutal West bracket, they might have to score a few points. And since the 3rd week of January, Gonzaga has been a number 1 on the Bart Torvik, so on the efficiency. So that's what I'm going for. And I hope if I'm out, it's the Band-Aid just ripped off quickly, and I can just worry about my handicaps after that, man.
Yeah, that's the thing about filling out the bracket. After I do the initial bracket and enter the contest, I don't think about these picks. I'm betting the games individually and just trying to win games that day. So I'm not going to worry about hedging any bracket picks or anything like that. You kind of do the brackets for fun, also hope to win a few contests. But, I like Gonzaga. Like you said, since February 1st, the number 1 offensive efficiency team in college basketball. I'm not sure if they're good enough defensively, but the way that bracket breaks, man, that West is so tough. You got Kansas and Arkansas and UConn in the top half, and TCU, Gonzaga, UCLA in the bottom half. It's interesting that the NCAA selection committee stuck Kansas with such a difficult region and gave Houston, by comparison, a much easier region in the Midwest. But anyway,
it is weird. But the Sasser injury bugs me a little. We'll see how he comes back healthy. I think he'll be healthy enough for it. And maybe the fact that they lost their championship game is actually a boost and something better for them. Before we get into a couple games, since 2011, the first half under is 180 and 149, 55% when the total 65 or higher. I caught on a little bit early, thank goodness, thanks to guys like Kyle Hunter that actually put out this stat. He's a totals better. But do you think first half unders will be relevant again this year?
I do. I'm not a big totals better, but I'll play some in there. I'll play a handful in the first round, and I've definitely looked at first half unders. A lot of these teams come out tight. And so, and also some of these games tip off early in the morning, which you call body clock games, right? Where you have to look for, let's say, a team like St. Mary's from California might be tipping off against VCU in the morning on Friday. I got to check the time of that. I got to go through the time of some of these games, but I always feel like teams are tight in the first half in NCAA tournament games, and I would look at first half unders. Some of these underdogs too. When I bet the dogs, I always play. I try, not always, but a lot of times I will play part of my bet on the first half, because a lot of times you'll see these dogs stick in there, maybe even lead at halftime, and then get blown out in the second half. But yeah, I think first half plays, whether you're looking at totals under or underdogs, a smart tip.
All right, good stuff. I've already played with a few. I think they're going to go down before they go up. again before the game. So keep that in mind. There's still a little time here. Let's get into the games and I picked out a couple toughies because we have to get through the tough ones. And Charleston versus San Diego State is one that doesn't seem to move too much. It's been sitting at 5.5. The total's around 141.5. You have anything on this one?
San Diego State's so long and athletic, and they don't let you get off good 3-point looks. And I actually respect the Aztecs quite a bit for the way they defend. If you look over the past 15 or 20 years of this program, it never changes. The Aztecs are one of the top defensive teams every year. And Brian Dutcher's done a great job carrying over what Steve Fisher did. And Utah State went into the Mountain West title game as the number 4 team in college basketball in 3-point shooting percentage at about 41%. And the Aztecs held Utah State to 4 for 24 from 3 in that game. Part of it might have been fatigue from Utah State playing day after day in the tournament, but also Aztecs, I watch it, they don't give you open looks from 3. And I think this is going to be a huge step up in class for Charleston facing this type of defense. That said, I like the Aztecs to win the game, find a way to win the game, but I'm not laying the points. I think for me it would probably be a +5 or pass here. I have not bet this one yet. I think the Aztecs find a way to win an ugly, low-scoring, close game, but that's the extent of my analysis there. Because I know 2 really sharp bettors who love Charleston, and I know a couple of really sharp bettors who love San Diego State. And I'm actually kind of in the middle where I think San Diego State's going to win, but I'm not laying the point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the same boat. I think it's a pretty solid line. San Diego State away from home, 47.5 effective field goal. Charleston's better than that. Of course, they had a little bit of an easier schedule and a smaller conference. But yeah, it's one of those situations where San Diego State can go through droughts and they might just inch through this one itself. So I leaned on Charleston. Let's move to another toughie. Boise State versus Northwestern. Northwestern -1.5 total. 128. Now I'm a Big Ten fan. I'm a Badger fan, but I'm not one of those fans that like root against people in my division or anything. I actually want to see success from Northwestern. I'm very happy that they made the tournament, but this is a tough spread for me because Northwestern is not coming in hot. They're actually coming in kind of cold. They had a couple hot streaks. They seem to be the better team when they're doubted or on the road, but this year they're not doubted in this position. They're -1.5. First time. I think they made the tournament a couple years ago, but this is a newer thing for them.
You're talking about Northwestern, right?
That's right.
Okay, cut out for a second there. But I'm on Northwestern here. I bet this +1 on Sunday night. I like their senior guards, Boo Buie and Chase Audige. And when you get a tournament like this, I think the experience of those 2 guys, even though they don't have a lot of NCAA tournament experience, they're still facing a team out of the Mountain West that has no experience with success in this tournament either. I mean, I said this on a show last night. If you've been betting Mountain West teams in this tournament for the past few years, you might as well invest your money in Silicon Valley Bank. Right? Mountain West is 0-8. 8 straight losses in this tournament, lost 10 of the last 11. You're going back to like 2016, 1 win since then. And I'm a pro Mountain West guy, but when you get in this tournament, you got to win. You got to win games. And I like Northwestern, and I also kind of like the fact that they were disappointing at the end of the season. Lost a home game to Penn State, lost their NCAA tournament game there in Chicago. Sometimes I think that can be a positive when a team flames out in the conference tournament. And for Northwestern, I think they're going to show up here with a little bit of an edge because they did lose a couple games there at the finish. But for me, the overriding factor is going to be the senior guards. If you look at Northwestern, won on the road, won big games at home. These guys can win anywhere. I like Audige and Buie, and I like Northwestern. It's not one of my biggest plays, but it's a normal play for me.
Audige, one of the best players that's not talked about in the Big Ten, in my opinion. I took the first half under 59.5. Certainly a lean to Northwestern, and I still might get to the window. Might be a money line play for me if I do that. Okay, this is a newer one here because Pitt just played last night. Pitt versus Iowa State -4. The total 131.5. I mean, what I wrote down here is that a few things just stuck out to me. Iowa State's got the great defense, but they really falter on the road. On Haslametrics, they're ranked in the high 300s in home road splits. I think when your name's not Baylor, at least they don't win on the road. But at the same time, my big issue with Pittsburgh is they're kind of like a poor man's Baylor. Focuses a little bit more on the offense. I think Mississippi State was terrible yesterday. It's probably a good number at 4 is what I wrote, but maybe you have something better for me.
So I kind of think when I was looking for this stat from last night's Pitt game that's, I think, relatively interesting. Let's see if I can call it up here real quick.
Sure.
It was interesting going into it. The Mississippi State was the worst three-point shooting team in college basketball by percentage. Very rarely is the worst three-point shooting team in the country even going to make the tournament. Mississippi State made it, and ironically had a wide-open look from 3 to win the game and bricked it last night. So an appropriate end to that Pitt Mississippi State game. Okay, this is from Optus Stats last night. Pitt is the only team in the last 25 years to score 60 or fewer points, shoot 35% or worse from 2, shoot 60% or worse on free throws, get out-rebounded by 20 or more, and still win the game. Teams have been 0 and 348 over that span with those numbers, 0 and 348. So if you're talking Pitt, Iowa State, I'm not a huge Iowa State fan, but the Cyclones did play much better, and they beat Baylor a couple times towards the end of the year. Maybe it was addition by subtraction that Caleb Grill left the team. I thought early in the season he was their most important player, but apparently became a disruption late. But the Cyclones got it together. They beat Baylor a couple times. Mississippi State, being the worst three-point shooting team in the field, knocked out. Pitt advances. I wasn't too impressed by the way Pitt played last night. You're talking about first-half unders. You might see one here in this game. I think this is going to be a really ugly, low-scoring game. I lean to Iowa State in the under.
No, I definitely lean the under as well. 4 points is it's almost telling you that, the right side is literally Iowa State here. I mean, Pittsburgh not getting any respect here by the market, and it hasn't moved much. So I would probably agree with you on that one. Here's another tough one because I was hoping like I could fade both of these teams, but this is another one similar to like Auburn, Iowa, or Illinois, Arkansas, Providence, Kentucky. And Providence, Kentucky is just Kentucky. They're so up and down. Kentucky's laying -3.5, total 144. Providence doesn't play much defense.
Right.
Kentucky is inconsistent, to say it even nicely. I think they're just all over the board. Yeah. I'm probably staying away from this game, but this total tells me that both teams could score. I do like Ed Cooley more than I like Calipari. So,
yeah, I wonder if Ed Cooley's going to be off to Georgetown. I don't think he's made a statement about that. That's a distraction the Friars have had to deal with the last couple of days. But I'm not going to let that even enter my handicap because I like Cooley too. And you're exactly right about what it said. Kentucky's been wildly erratic, and the 3-point shooting has not really been there. I thought it was you could kind of draw a parallel maybe to Virginia when they lost to UMBC, the Retrievers, as a number 1 seed, and then they come back next year and get redemption and have a wild ride all the way to the national championship. Kentucky losing to number 2 seed St. Peter's last year in the first round. I think the Wildcats are going to get some measure of redemption here, and I like them to advance past Providence. This is not one of my – I've got, I think, 14 or 15 bets on sides in the first round. This is not one of them. But I kind of lean Kentucky here because I don't think Providence is tough enough defensively to handle Oscar Tshiebwe inside. In fact, for those who bet player props, I'm going to project Oscar to have Tshiebwe to have 25 points and 17 rebounds in this game. I think he's going to pound Providence inside. The tricky thing is a lot of bettors always looking to fade the Friars, right? Because of the luck factor has been on their side in close games the past 2 years. I respect Providence, not crazy about them. I think Kentucky finds a way to win the game. I've got Kentucky advancing in my bracket, but it's not a bet for me right now.
Yeah, me either. Kentucky had that massive disappointment last year against St. Peter's, and you wonder if that motivates the team. That's the creative handicap that people think about more than the metrics. Sometimes that works for you, sometimes it don't. I think it should. You think Tshiebwe should be a good leader, and I always like the kid, and he should be able to be the one to lead them at least past this round as well. So I'm kind of with you on that. Let's go hodgepodge since we have a couple minutes. I have a question for you, and because I just thought about this recently. Does Gonzaga fans travel well to Denver?
Oh yeah, the Zags fans will travel just like they do to Vegas for the West Coast Conference tournament.
Okay.
Here, yeah, and also don't forget that regional's out in Las Vegas, right? So they're going to be ready to travel.
They are. So the reason I asked that is because guess who's playing UNC Asheville in Denver very soon here? It's Baylor. And I wonder if, and this usually happens when the teams don't travel well or the fans, they always root for the underdog as it is. Now you have Zags fans really not liking what happened with Baylor a couple of years back in their championships. Maybe they're just completely backing Asheville here, and you get a little bit of home court love in Denver. Just kind of thought about that. I don't know if that's noise or a distraction, but what are your thoughts on that potential?
Okay, so according to my bracket, Baylor's playing UC Santa Barbara, not Asheville, right? Asheville's playing UCLA.
Okay, so yeah, I wrote Asheville by accident.
No, that's cool. I actually am considering a bet on Santa Barbara. I have not made it. I have not made the bet on Santa Barbara yet. I think the number you can find 11, maybe 11.5 on the Gauchos. I kind of leaning that way. Mm-hmm. Baylor's guards went ice cold late in the year, and their defense has been shoddy. I'm really surprised how bad the Baylor defense has been late in the season. So I'm kind of leaning to you at UCSB there. I have not made that bet yet. Gonzaga, I see Gonzaga is playing the winner of the TCU, Arizona State, Nevada matchup in the top half of that bracket. By the way, I did take 18. You mentioned Asheville. I did take 18 with UNC Asheville against UCLA. Okay. I got to think that depth is going to be an issue for the Bruins.
Yeah.
I think that Mick Cronin's not going to want to play his stars too many minutes early in the tournament and wear those guys out. So if he has a big lead, you got to pull some guys out of the game. Now, coaches are sometimes hesitant to do that in the tournament because of the way leads can get blown so fast. But 18 is a big number. By the way, Asheville out of the Big South, Drew Pember, 6'10 senior, 21 points, 9.5 rebounds, Big South Player of the Year. I think he's going to be hard for UCLA to handle. He's attempted and made more free throws than any other player in the country. 262, a 314, 83%. You got Tajion Jones, a senior guard, 15 points a game, 45.6% from three. He's made 98 threes in 34 games. I think Asheville's a respectable team here. And I took 18 against UCLA in that one. Since you mentioned Asheville, I thought I'd go ahead and throw that out.
Well, no, thank you. I took 19.5 when it opened. Okay. So I think
better number than me.
Well, here's the thing, Bona. I mean, Bona, you're just like you said, the other forward now, he might not play. So I'm concerned just like you are. And I'm really hoping that, going back to Santa Barbara, that, Zags fans kind of give them a push, because I could see them covering a little, maybe even the first half too. So loving it, man. Well, we're out of time. Maddie, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate all your insights. Where could our listeners and viewers get your great information and media?
All at vsin.com, vsin.com. I'll tell you some of my better bets here on the way out. I got a couple minutes, so I go.
Okay.
And most of these are up on the vsin website, and I talk about them on all the shows, so it's not like top secret information or anything. Hopefully we got some winners in this tournament. I got a bunch of plays and want to have more, and I'm going to live bet all these games too, right? I love utilizing live betting, especially in basketball. I've got Furman plus 5.5, Auburn pick'em, Penn State plus 3, Colgate plus 14, Arkansas minus 2, Northwestern plus 1, Missouri plus 2, Asheville plus 18, Drake plus 3, Kent State plus 4.5, Iona plus 9.5. I did not get the best number there. And VCU plus 4. Those are most of the bets I got in the first round so far. And the only total I played was the Houston game under 123. That's Houston, Northern Kentucky, which plays a lot of zone. And I'm thinking that Marcus Sasser might sit that one out. They don't really need him. He needs to get his groin healthy for round 2. And if he sits that one out, I think under 123 is going to be a good number.
Absolutely. Or a team total under on Northern Kentucky there too. I'm waiting on a few team totals myself. They usually come out late. They're not offered in every book, but That's one of them. I actually have it written down in my sloppy handwriting right here. Northern Kentucky team total. Yep. I got Howard's team total under as well. Waiting on that. I made a second half play actually. Kansas versus Howard. Second half under 76 points. I think that it just kind of slows down at the end. I expect a massive blowout here. So kind of like looking at a little different angles as things come approach to us. So, well, thank you so much for all those plays. I didn't even have time to write them down. Now I'm gonna have to replay it so I can take a look at those there, Matty. Appreciate all your great work at VSiN too. I'm such a fan. I've been following you for a very long time, and once again, really thankful that you came on the show, Matt.
Well, hopefully we got more winners and losers this week. Best of luck to you and everybody else. And like you said, this is my favorite week of the year. So great to be on with you. Have a great week.
Have a great weekend. Game on.